Well, good Tuesday evening as election season ramps up. Amy Klobuchar has a challenger tonight. His name, Joe Frazier. No, not the boxer and not the gymnast. Joe Frazier is a veteran Navy commander turned banking executive who's taken a swing at unseating the three-term senator. But this isn't Senator Klobuchar's first rodeo. In fact, she defeated her Republican opponents in her past 3 campaigns by a wide margin. In 2006, she beat Mark Kennedy by 20%. In 2012, she beat Kurt Bills by 35%. And in 2018, she beat Jim Newberger by 25%. Then there was her brief bid for president in 2020, which was a dud. But her Senate seat has for nearly 2 decades been a lock. So what makes Republican newcomer Joe Frazier think he has what it takes? John Croman went to meet with him in Duluth, the first stop on Frazier's statewide tour today.
Duluth City Hall is where we got our first look at Joe Frazier, the Republican jumping into the 2024 U.S. Senate race.
My goal is to break the chain of dysfunction in Washington, D.C. that we see with incumbent politicians who do just the basic minimums to get by, and restore some sort of control over the budget process in the federal government.
Frazier spent 26 years in the U.S. Navy, rising to the rank of commander before he retired. Experience he believes gave him a firm grip on foreign policy and budgeting.
I understand the threats that are facing this nation and the challenges that the U.S. military faces. And when you talk about an organization that consumes 25% of the federal discretionary spending, understanding the obligations that the U.S. military has in defending peace and democracy around the world, I think is key.
The political newcomer condemns what happened at the U.S. Capitol January 6th.
I believe that President Biden was democratically elected by the Republic. And I think the response and the storming of the Capitol is a discredit to the Constitution, what the framers had in mind.
Frazier says he's fine with tying border security funding to aid to Ukraine, but that the U.S. can't abandon that European nation.
As far as what's going on in Ukraine, Russia, and under Putin, he's a butcher. He is not a proponent of democracies. He never has been. And I think what they're doing in eastern Ukraine is an atrocity.
He worked in cybersecurity in the Navy and continued in that area as a civilian before moving into the role of a business consultant for a major bank. He lives in Minnetrista with his wife, Rhonda, who's also a Navy veteran, and their daughter, who's a high school senior. Amy Klobuchar has racked up a string of lopsided victories, beating Mark Kennedy by 20 points in 2006, Kurt Bills by 35 points in 2012, and Jim Newberger by 26% in 2018. Her campaign had this to say about Frazier's challenge. Senator Klobuchar is focused on her job in the Senate and delivering results for Minnesotans. In the last Congress alone, she won her fight to force the drug companies to negotiate lower prices, and she passed a bipartisan bill to make sure veterans exposed to toxic chemicals were no longer denied the health care they deserve.
And I think part of the problem that we get into politics is everybody thinks their seat is safe. That's not very democratic. It drives me nuts when people just assume that the incumbent is going to win.
Joe Frazier concedes this is an uphill battle and he's a definite underdog, but he's starting by introducing himself to Minnesota voters. He held his first press conference here in Duluth. He's got appearances set for Wednesday in Moorhead, Mankato, and Rochester. In Duluth, John Croman, KARE 11 News.